All right, welcome back. And just like that, I am right back in the lab, just finishing up some work on this channel that's a little overdue. And I'm going to talk about the fights coming up this weekend. And I'm also going to touch on some previous fights that I haven't touched on yet. And also deal with a few other things. Now, I don't know how many of you have been paying attention, but we have lost a lot of prospects. And, what people don't understand is that prospects grow the sport. Take the flyweight division, for example. The reason why the flyweight division exploded in popularity is because it was full of a bunch of undefeated prospects. You had Aaron Blanchfield, undefeated. Manon Fiorot. When I say undefeated, I'm talking about the UFC. Some of them were just undefeated, period. Okay, you had Taylor Santos, who was on an incredible run, even though she had lost her first UFC bout. This is why the flyweight division skyrocketed in popularity and competitive wise. As far as being the most competitive division, why did it go from being the worst to being the best? When it was considered the worst division, remember who was in the division. Who was at the top of the division? You had people like Jessica Eye up there. You had people like Lauren Murphy up there. You had no young, strong prospects who were undefeated. Okay, so in other words, individual fighters were not doing that well. So in order to grow the sport or division, you need for individual fighters to do well. You need a good number of them to do well. But in order to, wish that, individual fighters do well, you have to be kind of a sane, humane person yourself. So it's difficult for some people. I don't understand it, but that's what it is. Some people wish for the downfall of particular prospects. Hopefully we don't have any of those this coming weekend. But how many of you remember how many prospects we had? Where most of them, after they got picked off, meaning after they lost for the first time, whether it be in the UFC or otherwise, I either publicly or privately had a depressed moment. This happens every single time a prospect takes an L. I personally grieve. I personally grieve. Loss of another prospect means overall, it means that the division itself is struggling to evolve. In order for a division or for a sport to do well, you need the individual fighters to do well. I know that's, that requires too much humanity for some people. I get it. But that's flat out what it requires. Those are just the facts. When Jasmine Jasudavicius got mopped up and down, y'all remember I didn't even like that matchup. And we got a similar matchup this weekend. I didn't like that matchup because it was like the debut for both of them. So one of them had to take an L. It was her against Natalia Silva. Her against Natalia Silva. Natalia Silva beat her up good. The only good thing we got out of that fight was that Natalia Silva won the fight. Now, had Jasmine won the fight, the only good thing that would have came out of that fight is that Jasmine won. We still have an undefeated prospect. And the idea is to separate yourselves from your little feminine emotions. Separate yourselves from the emotions. And hope that she can keep it up. Okay, if Jasmine would have won, the idea is, okay, please keep it up and manage to get a title shot. And if possible, conjure some type of character for yourself. This is what grows the sport. Whenever you hear me speak, whenever you hear me support something, it's in the interest of the growth of the sport. Everything. So that was unfortunate. Jasmine got beaten up, and she got beaten up bad, to the point where you can clearly see that all it takes is for and she not only got beaten up, Jasmine got exposed. A blueprint was laid out by Natalia Silva, where it's obvious that if another fighter with high level striking and good takedown defense, if Jasmine run into another one of those fighters, she most likely gonna get beaten up like that again. So what does that mean? Hopefully Jasmine is making improvements. This is why, us channel hosts say things like, or suggest or hope that certain fighters improve on certain things. It's all in the interest of growing the sport. I take time out of my life to cover women's mixed martial arts. It's in my best interest that as many of them do well as possible. Listen, if they were coming out here knocking each other out and getting more knockouts than the men, do you know how much bigger our channels would be? WMMA would be more popular or just as popular as the men. Just imagine this to yourself, that if on average women got more knockouts. Imagine if it was a pattern for women to go in there and clock the other chick, knock her out cold. And this was happening far more often than it was happening to the men. The women would be where it's at. You'd be seeing far more female fights on main cards and otherwise. Okay, and guess what else? Our channels would be much, much larger. And all of the fighters themselves would be far more successful. You got to look at the big picture. So we lost Jasmine. She's working her way back. She's currently now a ranked fighter. Erin Blanchfield. Okay, again, I didn't like that matchup. She's matched up against Manon. I don't like when two undefeated fighters are matched up, especially when it's their UFC debut. I hate when they do that. They did that with Yasmin Lucindo and Jauregui. They did it here as well. Okay, but Erin so far has lost to Manon. Okay, she's lost to Manon. That's her only loss. She's working her way back up. She's sort of recovering from that loss. Same with Jasmine. And I think Jasmine has pretty much recovered. She just needs to avoid Natalia Silva for the rest of her career. Jasmine, unless she makes some serious improvements. Melissa Mullins has very good trips. Now remember, her name used to be Melissa Dixon. And that stands out with her, for me, more than anything else. She's good on the ground, and she actually has pretty good boxing. She took out a fellow prospect, Alekseva. Again, a matchup that, that was kind of messed up. Two undefeated fighters, making their debut. Now, one of them has to take an L. I'd rather see new fighters matched up against fighters who had a few fights, but they're not doing that well. But obviously, it's not a perfect world, especially in MMA. You have a select number of fighters and possible matchups. But Melissa has good trips. And that's going to make her hard to deal with, if you ask me. Okay? Hopefully, she can, keep up the good work. But I don't see her, being a contender. We'll see. We'll see. That's Melissa Mullins, formerly known as Melissa Dixon. Now, this weekend, it is going down. It is going down this weekend. And I'm uncomfortable. I'm uncomfortable and all that. Okay, we got 3 fights. Hopefully, everybody makes it to the fight. Please. Now, here's one of those fights I was talking about right down here. Unfortunate off the bat. Both of those fighters on like a 6-7 fight win streak. Don't match them against each other in their UFC debut. Don't do that. Match them up against a Sam. No, keep them away from Sam Hughes. Keep them away from Sam Hughes. Match them up against somebody. Anybody who ain't doing that well. But okay. They're both on like a 6-7 fight win streak. That's Shi Ming and Feng Zhao Kan. I have not made my pick yet for that fight. We'll see what happens. But the flyweight with probably the most hype of any flyweight, Wang Kong. Let's scratch that. Easily the fighter with more hype than any other flyweight. Let's hope there are not many people wishing for her downfall, praying for her to get, quote, fraud checked. Yeah. Hopefully there's not that many degenerates out there. And hopefully they're not a member of, or, one of the judges. Right? Hopefully none of the judges are wishing for the downfall of prospects who could help grow the sport. Now, Gabriela Fernandez is her opponent. We're going to deal with the Wang Kong fight first. She's going to fight Gabriela Fernandez. This is a dangerous fight for Wang Kong. I don't like this fight for Wang Kong. I'm just being honest. Don't like it. Gabriela Fernandez is a very hard puncher. She is a very, very tough chick. Why don't I like this matchup? Because I want Wang Kong, Valentina Shevchenko, where there is an undefeated Wang Kong challenging, hopefully, a Shevchenko who has won all however many fights she's going to have. This is the biggest possible fight for WMMA, period, right now. Oh my goodness. Y'all really don't deserve people like me. People like Combo Breaker, who's now WMMA Talk. You don't deserve people like Shelton Harrison, who put in the real work of trying to grow in WMMA, doing and saying all the right things. And it's not really being respected. Hopefully there are no, degenerates out there in hopes that Gabriella knocks off Wayne Kong and kills her hype. Even though there's not that much. I think most people are on the Wayne Kong bandwagon for the most part. They dig the Joker's thing. They dig the fact she's already fought Valentina Shevchenko and has a win over her. Right? Thankfully Wayne Kong is not black. Okay, that would drastically increase the chances of people wishing that she get knocked off. So I feel confident about Wayne Kong being supported going into this fight. And it's so intense. I suspect even the judges will be more likely to give the fight to Wayne Kong in a close fight, especially looking at the fact she's got a black opponent. Oh, yes. Now, I know that's messed up. That's real messed up. For me as a black man to be sitting here saying that, hey, I'm relieved that Wayne Kong is fighting a black fighter because there's a better chance that Wayne Kong is given the decision in a close. But the best possible matchup for champion Valentina Shevchenko is this Chinese chick right here. I want Kong Bullet. I want Joker Bullet. I want it right now. That's the biggest, and it's too bad that, Shevchenko went through this little dust up with Alexa Grasso. Because had this been a completely undefeated Shevchenko, who had defeated Grasso, defeated Santos, no dust up, no challenges, this would be the biggest WMMA fight in history. In history. Had Valentina remained unscathed, along with Wayne Kong fighting her way up here, you would have blew everything out the water. I pay close attention to stuff like this. What grows the sport? What's going to get people's attention? Boy, that would have gotten everybody's attention. But that's not what we're dealing with. That's not the cards we're dealt. I'm going to take Wayne Kong in this fight, but I'm telling you, this is more like, I'll say like 60-40. I'm like, because I don't know much about, haven't seen enough of Wayne Kong in MMA to make a decision on how well she'll do against the ground fighters. Fernandez is not so much of a ground fighter, a striker. She can do both. She got submissions and all that. But I'm going to take Wayne Kong. Now, look, if Gabriella wins, the best that I can hope for is that she knocks Wayne Kong out, okay, sleep her, and go on to murk everybody else. That way, if Gabriella is going to be a contender, be the best possible contender you can be. Because remember, in her most recent fight, she won that by split decision. So Gabriella's not looking too good right now. She had back-to-back losses, lost her UFC debut, lost again to Teresa Bleda. So if she makes it, just imagine she was a title contender. How many people you think would be hyped up for that title fight? So hopefully she can crank it up. I'm going to take Wang Kong, and I hope Wang Kong wins for, because I want that fight. Flat out. I want that fight. Shevchenko, Wang Kong 2 in mixed martial arts. This is the female version of Adesanya Pereira. Y'all not real WMMA fans. This is why I'm so unmotivated to produce content. Y'all not as passionate about this as I am. Most of you. This is a small, tight-knit circle who really, appreciate WMMA. Y'all not addicts like me, sadly. So we'll see what happens. Remember, Wang Kong is, how old is she? 32 years old. Not too old. Okay, not too old. But boy, she is extremely respected as a striker. And look at that. Look at, and understand, she beat Valentina by unanimous decision. I know a lot of people, they got their opinions on the fight. But the end result is a unanimous decision over Valentina, and that was in 2015. The girl she looks incredible when she strikes. But look at that. Look at that record. That's the only unfortunate thing. But she's undefeated through and through. Okay? Undefeated. That victory over Victoria Leonardo, understand, that was a historic knockout. Very rare for women to get a one-punch knockout. Okay? And this is just, for maybe the degenerates. It's a bad thing for a prospect like this to lose a close fight that they probably should have won. That's not going to help matters. Okay, and as many people pointed out, I pointed out myself, she has shown some holes. Okay, she was pushed by Wu Yanan. Now, quiet as kept, Wu Yanan is no slouch. Yanan Wu is no slouch. And this, if I'm not mistaken, was like that was an MMA bout. She fought Wu Yanan in MMA. It was not a pure striking match. But this is a huge bout for me, man. Y'all all know that I am on the Wang Kong bandwagon. And it makes it kind of difficult to support these fighters with the degenerate fans make it so much more difficult. It would be so much easier and enjoyable without them. But I'm on the Wang Kong bandwagon. Because, listen, and girls, y'all need to take notes. Get a character. However you have to do it. It will help your brand, most definitely. There's not many fighters who, in their MMA debut, they already got documentaries out on them. Wang Kong already got this highlight special. I shared it in the community section. Next year, just Google her name. Wait a minute here. We about to do it right now. And again, I know it's not pronounced Wang Kong. Look, I'm American. I don't know how to pronounce her name. Wang, it's like, I forgot I don't know how to pronounce her name. Look at her. She's tweaking out. She is full of life. She's outgoing, outspoken, got character. She's interesting. She out here running her mouth, talking about I'm a better striker than Valentina. I'll smack Valentina up right now. I'll smack her up right now. Look at her. And this was in her UFC debut. She came in the UFC tweaking. Post-fight interview. This girl is hilarious. She's hilarious. Do you just look at her and listen to the things she says? She is a true clown. She's hilarious to me. I'm a big fan of Wayne Kong. Protect this woman. And I'm telling you now, if she go in here and get beaten up, boy, I'm going into depression. I'm going to have a brief moment of depression. Y'all better stay out because my alter ego going to kick in. It ain't going to be nothing but smoke for a few days. All right? So we'll see what happens there. We'll see what happens in that fight. Now, again, we got 3 fights. Let me briefly, I'll save the main event for last. Let me deal with this other fight where they have matched up these 2 prospects. Now, it appears to me that the UFC is collecting atom weight, Asian fighters. They're collecting, they're signing more Asian fighters from what it looks like. And I suspect it's in anticipation for the opening of an atomweight division somewhere down the line. Okay, so they're signing more and more Asian fighters. I don't know how many of y'all looked up the record on these 2 fighters. There are not that many fights available online. There are a few of them. So I'm going to go into this with a poor grasp on their style. Okay, I'll tell you that right now. But one thing we all get access to is their records. Well, let me go. Let's go to the Sherdog. Yeah, go to Sherdog. Sorry, I got too many windows open here. What is it? Okay, she's 10-2. Right now we're looking at Feng Zhaokan. She's 22. Wow. Very young. Very young. Okay, she's on an 8-fight win streak. Okay, let's look at this. Stoppage, decision, stoppage, decision, stoppage, decision. She has had 2 fights on the UFC Tough Road to UFC. Won both of them. One by decision, one by stoppage. She's earned a UFC contract. But an 8-fight win streak is solid. That's solid. That's about to come to an end. Well, there's a, 50-50 chance that's about to come to the end. So they're about to come into, one of them's about to take a loss. So there's really no chance of them being an undefeated title contender. Yeah, scratch that off the list of possibilities right now. Right? And that's, it's got to happen. It's going to happen. There's nothing you can do to stop it. It's just too bad when it happens, in my opinion. Now, her opponent, Ming Shi, 16-5. But, okay, I thought she was on a longer win streak. She's on a 4-fight win streak. All right, correct that. She's on a 4-fight win streak. So we'll see what happens. I don't know what's going to happen in that fight. I can't find film. Don't know how they fight, really. I found a little film on Feng, but I'll make a post when I want to share my prediction. Now, the main event, at least for the women, the WMMA main event, Yan Xiaonan against Tabatha Ricci. I'm going to take Yan Xiaonan. But this is, I am 51-49. I'm as close to 50-50 as it gets on this fight. I know, most people is like, Yan. Easy fight for Yan Xiaonan. I just don't get it. I don't get it. I know Tabitha got raggedy looking striking, but look at what she's doing. Look at what Tabitha's doing. She's doing well for herself at strawweight. I don't know. People, she lost. Yeah, she lost to Loopy. She lost to Loopy. And against Tisha, that was a split decision. But the thing is, look at her last two opponents. Very experienced fighters. If you can go 3 rounds and beat both Tisha and Angela Hill and by decision, now I know it was a split decision against Tisha, but that's a collection of a lot of experience against the most experienced fighters in the division. Angela Hill and Tisha have been here since the beginning of the division. These are 2 of the OGs. Remember, they came out of Invicta to create this division. They were in the tough. So that's a lot of experience. And, that's a real good learning lesson for Tabitha in preparing her to fight against Yan. She's well prepared to fight against Yan with this record that she has, UFC record. And remember, she's had a lot of fights, more fights than a lot of girls in the UFC. A lot of UFC experience already for Tabitha Ricci. Okay, Jillian Robertson is no pushover. She's just not. That's a solid test to your ground skills. Jessica Penne, we all know Jessica Penne. But Tisha and Angela Hill, I feel like Tabitha stepped her game up with her 2 most recent victories over Tisha and Angela Hill. I know people looking at Yan's fight against Weili Zhang and say, hey, if Weili couldn't stop her, but remember, she was supposed to have been stopped in that first round, man. That fight was supposed to be over in that first round. Now, imagine if that's the way it unfolded. Yan Xiaonan against Weili Zhang. Imagine if Yan had gone in there and gotten choked out in the very first round. What would we be saying about Yan Xiaonan? We'd be saying that girl cannot fight ground fighters at all. If you're a good ground fighter, it's a wrap. You're going to be able to take Yan out. The only fighters Yan's going to have a chance against is pure strikers like Marina Rodriguez. That's exactly what we be saying. But let me pull her record up here. Boy, we would be letting Yan have it, and y'all know it. We would be lighting her up. Every matchup to get made. Oh, she's in there against the ground fighter. It's a wrap. She got stopped in the first round by Carla Esparza, and then got stopped in the first round by Weili Zhang. Now, of course, Weili Zhang is like a super fighter. No shame there. But this is Yan Xiaonan's record. This is her record. That fight against Carla was, that was deep. Got thrashed in that first round. And then in the second round, got taken down like immediately. Immediately. Wrestling heavy. Wrestler. Now understand, Tabitha Ricci is not no Carla Esparza when it comes to takedown. Carla Esparza is the queen of shooting in. If I'm not mistaken, Carla has held several records in the wrestling department. Several records in the wrestling department. That girl knows how to shoot in. She's like a bullet with that. Shoot right, and she'll shoot right at your ankles. She's like a light female version of Daniel Cormier. She's real good at shooting in, Carla Esparza. Not so much with Tabitha Ricci. Okay? I acknowledge that. Tabitha Ricci's takedown ability is not quite on par with Carla Esparza. However, I still don't think it's all that difficult to get your hands on Yan Xiaonan. But she was, I got to give her credit for her performance against Weili. Weili wanted that fight on the ground. She wanted to take this girl out on the ground. Yan was able to take her all 5 rounds, even though she should have been stopped in that first round. But Yan, we lost her as a potential big matchup against the champion. Took that L against Carla Esparza. Turned around. Lost to Rodriguez. Most people thought she beat Marina Rodriguez. Yan also proved herself against Mackenzie Dern, but we all know Mackenzie Dern has always had problems, like with her takedowns. She has poor takedowns, very poor takedowns. Knocked out Jessica Andrade, and see, that's the thing. That fight against Weili is very recent. But she was able to go all 5 rounds. Should have been stopped in the first round. She survived the next 4 rounds. She survived, so I'm giving her credit. And I'm actually taking her in this fight because I'm giving her credit for the improvements she made. I can't really hold her to the Carla Esparza loss anymore. That just wouldn't be fair. Wouldn't be fair because she has faced other ground fighters since then and has, managed to not get stopped, even though she lost in the striking department against Weili. But that's the thing. That's the thing. Tabitha Ricci is not the striker that Weili is. So if Yan repeats this performance that she had against Weili, manages to stay on her feet, there's a much better chance that Yan is going to win the exchanges. As long as she's not dead tired, right, and, about to fall over on herself, there's a better chance that she outstrikes Tabitha Ricci. Which is kind of crazy, man. And I thought Weili won most of the exchanges. She won most of the exchanges there. Weili's very formidable. Low key about to be. I wouldn't be surprised if Weili broke Yana's record at that division. Not many people have been talking about it, but I think that's very possible. Now, so I don't like Tabitha. Listen, man. Tabitha, I don't know what people's thinking. People have a very low opinion of Tabitha Ricci's ability. And I just feel like I'm uncomfortable just looking at her like that. I see people's comments. They're like, Tabitha Ricci out with a joke. I don't know about that, man. She's been one of the fighters who's made me look bad because I picked against her a number of times. Yeah, Valen, you probably missed it. But even though I'm picking Yan, I said earlier, I'm like 49-51. 49-51. And at first, I picked Ricci. I don't know how many people remember, but I spoke on this fight before, as soon as it was announced. And I said, right now, I'm taking Tabitha Ricci. And man, listen, man, I don't know what's going to happen. Ricci, I think, is more than live. And I'm one of the few people, it seems like, who think Ricci is live. You go look at the comments, it's like unanimously agree. Yan got this. Yan got this. Easy win. You got people saying easy win for Yan. Listen, I don't know what they're looking at. This is a dangerous fight for Yan. But she find herself getting balled up and wrestled up. That's just not going to be. She better hope that Tabitha does not exploit or find some type of weakness in her takedown defense. She better not find out that Yan is a sucker for getting tripped or nothing like that. So, yeah. I'm going to take Yan, but I took Tabitha at first. Took her at first. And listen, man, don't be surprised if I change my mind. I might go back and forth. This might be the most uncertain prediction that I've ever made. Okay, I'm already back and forth. I picked Tabitha at first. Now I'm taking Yan because I got to give Yan credit for, her performance against ground fighters. Fighters who wanted to take her down but couldn't. Right? What did I do with her record here? Right here. That includes Weili, right? Weili, like I said, she should have won in the first round by submission, but Weili was unable to take her down again. She was unable to. I think she got a few more takedowns, but she couldn't stop her. Yan does have, survival skills. She does. When it comes to, fighting against ground fighters. And remember, Mackenzie Dern also wanted that fight. You all remember how much trouble she was in against Mackenzie Dern? Yan is a bit of a survivor. She is. She was in all kinds of trouble against Mackenzie Dern. That's why I'm saying. That's why I took Tabitha Ricci when the fight was first announced. And like I said, don't be surprised. I ain't got no confidence going into this fight. But, yeah, that was a train wreck. Her fight against Carla Esparza, that was the worst she's ever looked in her career. And she can't afford to have a repeat of that performance right there. Okay, she just can't. But I'm telling you now, Tabitha Ricci is alive, more than a live dog. More than a live dog in this fight. So, yeah, again, I have not made a pick here. Xi Ming against Zhao Kan. I'm going to take Wang Kong, but man, she can get knocked out. And, she might just lose, period. Gabriella is not that bad of a fighter. But I don't care who Wang Kong is matched up against. I want her to win because I want that Shevchenko, and I want Shevchenko to hold on to that belt. Okay, I want to see some super fights. I want to see a super title fight. That is so missing from WMMA. Look at what we got coming up. Kayla Harrison against Juliana Pena. Now, I'm looking forward. Don't get me wrong. I'm looking forward to that fight. I think a lot of people, more than average, because of Juliana's mouth. Y'all always talking smack. And Kayla Harrison is also a big smack talker. That's one of the biggest fights we've had in a while. We need more fights like that. WMMA needs more fights like that. When the regular matchups, contender matchups, stuff like that are made, ranked or unranked, man, don't nobody really care about these female fights. They're not respected, man. They're not respected. This was another prospect that we lost. Nora Cornoli. She came into UFC on a real solid win streak. She came in, defeated Jocelyn Edwards, defeated Melissa Mullins, formerly known as Melissa Dixon. And at that time, she was on a 8-fight win streak, undefeated in the UFC. And she got mopped. Well, not really mopped. She lost to Jacqueline Cavalcante. Lost to Cavalcante. And this was bantamweight. And we definitely need as many prospects as possible in the bantamweight division. Look at the bantamweight now. Look at who, Kayla Harrison. We finally got a spark back in the bantamweight division. Why? Why? Because one fighter has been doing well. Kayla Harrison. That's all it took. One fighter is doing very well. And suddenly, all of a sudden, this is probably the biggest bantamweight matchup, boy, since when? Take your pick. That is such a dead division. Okay, now, Melissa Mullins was another. Remember, she was undefeated through and through when she came into the UFC. Had her undefeated streak taken by Nora. You know, easy to forget. There's a lot of prospects, potential, big matchups, title fights, contenders. Had they been able to, remain undefeated, it's just difficult for these fighters to do. It's difficult for them to do. It seemed a little more difficult for the women to do than the men. It seems like the men have a slightly easier time making it up, even fighting their way up through the rankings, remaining undefeated. Look at all the stars in the big fights. Khamzat Chimaev. What makes these stars and standout fighters, which also makes for big time pay-per-view bouts? What makes them? It's because the fighters are undefeated, looking good, doing well. You are a brainless imbecile if you want those prospects to take L's. That will forever keep WMMA in joke status. Joke mode. That's actually like a nightmare. Where every single, and imagine, the champion is building a monstrous win streak in the meantime. Right? So you'll have a champion on a 20-fight win streak fighting somebody who's 10-8. Never been on a 2-fight win streak in a career. Man, that will be the funeral of WMMA. If we didn't get no prospects who was undefeated, yeah, go ahead and read the eulogy. Yeah, bantamweight is just sad. It's such a sad division, but it's been messed up for a while. But what do you see in the bantamweight division? The only life in the division is where? Kayla Harrison. Nobody hyped about Pennington, Ketlin. Nobody. Kayla is just the only life there. The only reason people interested in Pena is just they want to see her get beaten up. They tired of listening to her talk. They hate the fact she got the belt again. And they just want somebody to beat her up. Hey, good for her. Okay, we need more of that too. We need more characters. Need more characters in the sport. Especially, hey, if you want to get my attention too. And that's the thing. I'm paying these people every month. Over the years, I can't imagine how much of my money they have gotten. Okay? And for my money, I want the best possible matchups. Best possible title fights. And I know what makes them, what goes into the making of top-notch title fights, mega title fights. You need fighters doing well. It is as simple as that. So, listen, man, and fighters like Wayne Kong, they're up against it. For her to, listen, man, that girl is she is tweaking out on next level tweaking. To say some of the things that she has said things that nobody else has said. To say I don't care about none of these fighters in the division because I'm better than all of them, girl, you are spazzing out. She's spazzing out for real. Most people don't appreciate stuff like that. That's, boy. I don't care who you are. I'm gonna ask, who is that? Who said that? You talking about the flyweight division? She said, what'd she say? I didn't bother to look at these fighters because I'm better than all of them anyways. Okay. She's fighting this coming weekend, people. The chick who said that, maybe it's a good idea to remind people of the fights coming up. This lady right here, the Joker, who dresses up as the Joker, her nickname is the Joker. They asked her about, what she thinks about some of these other fighters in the flyweight division, the UFC. She said, I haven't looked at them because I really don't care. I'm better than all of them anyways. That's what she said, basically what she said. I'm paraphrasing, but that's basically what she said. So she got next level trash talk. Okay, she knows how to pop her gums. She popping her gums way better than any other fighter. I can't even imagine any other fighter. I dare somebody else to say something like that. Like, who says stuff like that? And the crazy thing is, she says something like that knowing that all eyes are on her anyways. She comes into the UFC under the reputation of someone who's defeated Valentina Shevchenko. She's the chick who handed Valentina a loss. So all eyes and ears are on you, and you say something like that? That's not the only thing she said. She also said she'll whoop Valentina right now. she'll whoop her again. I'll whoop her again. I whooped her back then. I'll whoop her again. My striking is better than hers still right now to this day. Okay, this girl is she is theater. Put it like that. She's fighting this weekend. Now, contrast that with the typical MMA persona. Like, say, with Gabriella. Straight, professional, Yeah, it's a whole different world. That's why UFC is so big on characters. Like, the Conor McGregors and whatnot. They're huge on character. They understand how that can boost the popularity of your organization. To have fighters with charisma, some type of character, to either attract or repel people. They really don't care as long as you can pull it off. With John Jones, for example, he's polarizing. People either love him or they hate him for the most part. Now, let me retract that. Because I'm one of the fans. I don't love him or hate him. I just watch it for the sport. And your girl, Ayaka Hamasaka, this is another thing. I was just recently talking about fighters fighting past 40. This woman, 42 years old. 42 years old. Still fighting like a little gremlin. She's still spazzing out. Still doing her thing. So go ahead, Ayaka Hamasaki. That girl, that's the wizard. She is a wizard. She does some seriously crazy things with her body. Forgot to even talk about that. But Yan Xiaonan, if Yan beats Tabitha Ricci, do you think she's going to get a rematch with Weili? And if she does, how do you think that's going to go? I personally don't think she'll beat Weili. If they have a rematch, I'm taking Weili again. And to be honest, I'm not interested in seeing that. I don't know about nobody else. I haven't been clamoring over a rematch between Weili Zhang and Yan Xiaonan. Now, had it been a real close, razor close fight, yeah, let's see a rematch. That's not, no, this was one-sided. I don't care to see that again. So, no disrespect to Yan, I'd rather Ricci win. Just so we can get a new face against the champion. I want to see a different test for the champion. Right? So, even though I might take Yan, I do got my fingers crossed in hopes that Tabitha Ricci can pull off the upset. People got to understand and keep in mind, Weili is exhausting her options. Yan is currently ranked at number 2. If she defeats Tabitha Ricci, who is currently ranked at number 10, how many people reflected on this? UFC is doing this primarily because Weili is running out of options. That's horrible for the division. That's horrible for the division. That's why you don't root against prospects who are doing well. That's just dumb. It's very rare. I think the last time we saw that was Erin Blanchfield, right? She got a shot against, I think, Andrade or Taylor Santos, and she was ranked kind of low. But I think she was. I don't think she was ranked as low as Tabitha Ricci at the time. I don't think that was an 8-spot jump, but it was something like that, something crazy. They do that when you run out of options. Because remember, back then, when Shevchenko was running out of options, it was fishing deep down in the rankings for a potential opponent. Remember, Alexa Grasso, at the time, if I'm not mistaken, was ranked at like number 6. 5 or 6, somewhere in there. And they're already doing that here. So if Tabitha Ricci wins this fight, that's going to be a 2-fight losing streak for Yan Xiaonan. She gonna get bumped down. Tabitha's gonna take that number 2 spot. But then, even if they do that, who's next to be a title contender? Man, the strawweight division is kind of dying out. Right now, there's a sort of a lull. Yasmin Luciendo is the next best option. She's like the last one. Right? Now, don't get me wrong. I'd watch Mackenzie Dern, Weili Zhang. But Weili is taking out Yan, Andrade, Lemos. And, that's kind of causing a problem. We'll see what happens. I don't know what's going on with Tatiana Suarez. She can't stay healthy for nothing. So we'll see what happens with that. They might go ahead and make Verna against Weili. Hey, they make that fight. I don't know what's going to happen. One thing we do know in that fight is that if that fight go to the ground, we don't know what's going to happen. No. That fight go to the ground, we don't know what's going to happen. And then, there's a good chance that it might go to the ground. So, yeah, I wouldn't be mad at that matchup. A lot of people. And the thing is, Verna, she don't have much support. The hardcore fans respect her ground skills, but she's not that popular. In general, as a title contender, she's not a strong contender. That's not going to be no, big time. The biggest matchup for Weili right now, I think, is Suarez. But even Suarez has sort of lost her shine. She ain't fought in forever. So it's a low point right now in strawweight division. That's why she's talking about jumping up, fighting Valentina Shevchenko. So, and that's the best. If you're going to have a title or a champion versus champion fight, Weili is the best candidate to pull that off. I don't want to see Tatiana Suarez maybe take the belt. Then her very next fight, she hop up fighting Valentina Shevchenko. Valentina and Weili have already had a little dust up. That'll be good for the sport. If they continue to do well and eventually fight each other. But, like I said, I think they need to be done under the right circumstances. You need to exhaust your possibilities. And look, man, if they both do exhaust their options in their respective divisions, they'd probably be too burnt out to fight each other. Be too beaten up to fight each other. And why, this is another thing, why did people seem to compare Natalia Silva with Karine Silva? So I've seen so many comments saying, Karine was a off-brand Natalia Silva. They're nothing alike. They might have the same last name, but they got opposite styles. Karine Silva has never been a striker, known or respected, even though she's knocked girls clean down. She's shown power a lot of other fighters haven't shown as a striker, but she's primarily a ground striker. Natalia Silva is the exact opposite. I don't know why people, project them, and they project Karine as some type of Natalia Silva. People are just goofy like that. But Manon, Natalia Silva, those right now are the only undefeated fighters left. Right? Just lost one last night. So she won't be able to cause as much as buzz. And to be honest, had Karine Silva stayed undefeated and continued to stop girls the way that she had been, she would have made the strongest possible opponent for Valentina. Competitively, because remember, Taylor Santos was not that good of a striker. I know people, they'll immediately say, well, Silva's striking wasn't up to par. Neither was Taylor Santos. We saw how that fight went. Competitively, and the optics would have been crazy. Shevchenko, fighting this black Brazilian with a giant afro. That would have made for some sick optics. I think people right now, another thing, going into the fight last night, what's today, Monday? Now I'm off work today for my followers, so I'll be producing some more content. Going into that fight last night, Karine Silva against Viviane Araújo, a lot of people, for whatever reason, seem to forget that Karine Silva did not go into that fight with an aura of invincibility. People just reacted as if she went into that fight with the aura of invincibility still intact, because they wanted her to seem as high as possible. People lift you up to watch you fall. And it would not have been nearly as enjoyable for people if it was a short fall. So they projected Karine as if she didn't fight Ariane Lipski. They spoke as if she was not already humanized by Ariane Da Silva. You see? So I forgot to point that out. Another more proof that people are just sick and twisted and just wanted to see her fall because she was doing so well. That's the only thing you can conclude. As far as, listen, many of these fighters have had a undefeated streak. Casey O'Neill was once undefeated in the UFC. Several of them. Tracy Cortez just recently lost her undefeated streak. Go down the list. Amanda Ribas, Viviane Araújo. At one point, they were all in the UFC and had not lost yet. Macy Barber. Natalia Silva, still undefeated. Erin Blanchfield. Manon Fiorot, still undefeated in this division. There's some unranked fighters. Haven't lost yet. None of them had Kareen's win streak. None of them had the win streak where girls was getting carried out on stretchers. They wasn't undefeated with 100% stoppage ratio. So quite literally, she was the most formidable undefeated fighter. The most formidable. Up until her fight against Ariane Da Silva. So just something to think about for all of you. I know what I'm talking about. And over here, understand, my nickname, I got several nicknames. I like Renegade Addict. Renegade Addict, I like that too. Over here, you're going to get independent judging. My judging is going to be, sometimes will be totally outside of the official judges. And guess what? I want it that way. Okay? I, just like several other people, I trust my knowledge of fighting better than these goofy judges, many of which have never had a fight in their fat, sloppy, pathetic lives. These dudes never even trained, never had a fist fight, don't know jack squat about fighting, judging fights. Channels like mine is what you need. Listen, you should never pay attention to the official judges. Never. Would you do that in the real world? Would you listen to a 300-pound double whopper eating nerd who's never even thrown a punch try to tell you and teach to you the intricacies of fighting? We need a anti-judge movement, because at these arenas, there are several people in the crowd who are experienced fighters, and all of them are more qualified to judge these fights than the official judges, all of them. And we all know this. I don't know why these platforms with large audiences have not rallied against judges the way they should have. It is, if you ask me, it is a disgrace to have such inexperienced people. Do you know these judges, they take a couple classes or something, right? They read a coloring book. and to learn about fighting. It's like they're totally unqualified to be judges. They teach them the UFC criteria, control time, and all this kind of stuff. But if you're not an experienced fighter, flat out, you're not qualified to judge fights. Right. It's rare for Chinese fighters to talk like that. That's another thing that makes Wang Kong stand out. That helped boost her promotion. Right? But yeah, man. These judges are horrible. They're horrible for the sport. And think about it. Pretty much on every card, this is so crazy. Pretty much on every single fight card, you got massive pushback against the judging. Can you imagine? How many cards have we seen? That's like part of the rules, to have some messed up judging. And you have all kinds of people being critical of many of these decisions. Fighters, trainers, people with actual experience. Think about it. Pretty much everybody is better qualified than these judges. Why it's not mandatory for former fighters to judge is beyond me. If you ask me, those are the best, most qualified people to judge a fight. And this was happening in boxing too. This, disrespect for experience. You notice no other profession does that. You're not going to be no expert. Hey, think about it. An expert mechanic who's never worked on a car. The only thing they've done is read a book here and there. Maybe saw a couple YouTube videos. Would you trust that joker over somebody with multiple decades of experience? Like, man, get out of here. Boy, you read a book somewhere. You don't get out my face. And then you going to pay that person? Think about it. Judges are jokes. Jokes. And listen, man, I got a little small channel. I'm off in the corner somewhere. But I'm making whatever call is possible. I'm making a call to all platforms. Y'all need to rally against these judges. Okay, I am fed up. Everybody is fed up. Y'all just haven't been officially fed up. These Jews, all of them, they are jokes. Have you even looked at them? Many a times during fights, they're not even looking at the fight. Have y'all ever stared at these judges? Many times they'll look down for a while, look back up, look down, take a bite of a sandwich, look back up. You can't judge no fight doing that. We all know that. These judges are so far off, and we just sitting here like dummies giving them a pass. We all know that, people. If you're going to judge a fight, your eyes can't leave the action. Really, not even for a second. So we on to you, judges. I will speak more on this in the future, and I will land my plane here.